What we want to talk about here today is with that diverse background, how do we overcome challenges? How do we handle things that are controversial? How do we come out successfully and have a point of view that says, here's how we do these kinds of things? So I'm going to start us out with a question here for you. And that is, you talked a lot about when we met before, challenging the status quo. I'd love to get your point of view on that. What does that really mean?
That is always a challenge. It's even more so in a law firm because lawyers' whole world is based around precedent. So a lot of what I find myself doing on a day-to-day basis is listening and learning and trying to figure out what it is that we're trying to accomplish. For example, with my last firm, it was several years, quite frankly, before I could insert myself in a meaningful way into their compensation process. We started out slowly by we could do it that way, but here's another way. And learning what you're trying to accomplish because whether you're in a manufacturing, sales, distribution, or professional services environment, your internal client knows what they want to accomplish, but they may not have the best idea on how to get there. So they may come up and go, we're going to fire everybody, we're going to do this. And well, we could do that, but there are some risks. What is it you're trying to get to? And why don't we try this? So, for example, in that first law firm, my first experience in this area, I listened to them. I watched the process, realized that there were a lot of ways we could improve and make it more efficient. So I was able to sit down with them and go, what is it you want to recognize and reward in this group? Is it productivity and quality of work, quantity and quality of work? Got an agreement. What are the measures of those 2 areas? Can we agree that these are objective measures? Yes. Let me model something out. So taking that, modeled out the whole merit increase bonus structure, brought it back to them and said, okay, here is a proposal. Here's additional funds set aside to recognize and reward those other accomplishments that don't fall into that. What do you think? And the response was, wow, that makes a lot of sense. And this usually takes us days. And we wrapped up in a couple of hours. It was a process I could explain to the employee and, if necessary, defend if ever challenged. Whereas otherwise, it felt a little bit like it was behind the curtain and no one knew what the wizard was doing. But if I walked in and said, you're doing it wrong, I never would have gotten anywhere, particularly in a professional services group. Let's face it, we are surrounded by incredibly smart people. They have very sincerely held beliefs, shall we say. It's a lot about change management. I'm a big fan of the ADKAR model. And the first step is getting people to be aware that there is a need to change. If they've always done it that way, they don't know that there's another way and a better way to do it. So building that awareness is critical. And in order to do that, I had to understand their business and I had to speak their language. I had to reinvent my language when I moved into professional services because, quite frankly, most professional services don't see themselves as a business. I would argue that you are in multiple states, you have all these lives you're responsible for as employees, you're a business, but they don't see it like that. I have a practice. Okay, but it's still a business. So I had to learn not to use terms that sounded corporate or HR-y, and I had to use the words that would resonate with them, and that's critical.